These first protests, it's been well over a month now following the police killing of George Floyd in Minneapolis. Where are we now with these protests and what's been accomplished?
So first of all, we're going to define that as a murder of George Floyd. He was murdered live on TV for all of us to see. And I think when we start talking about what has been accomplished, we have to also look at the fact that George Floyd's murder was not a starting off point, right? It was one in another long series of events of state-sanctioned violence and anti-Blackness. And so hopefully we've galvanized our base. Hopefully we've brought new eyes to our issues and are starting to move down the field towards real sustainable change.
We saw just this past weekend in the Detroit Free Press, full-page ad supporting the protesters and fighting racism. It's a long list of local and regional organizations. Were you connected with that at all?
Yeah, so that was not our ad, but we are in full support of that ad. A lot of the organizations on that list we work with on a regular basis. BLM Detroit is fiscally sponsored by Allied Media Projects. And so when people want to donate to us and give us funds or come out and help, that's who helps us process the back end of that money. And Allied Media Projects is one of the signatories on that list. And so all those 10 demands, we are in full support of everything that ad has to say.
Well, at the top of that list, defund the police. What do you say about that?
It's funny that you asked me that question today. I just saw an ad for the current occupant of the White House. It was a riff on defunding the police, and somebody was calling 911.
Due to defunding of the police department, we're sorry, but no one is here to take your call.
So if you were calling to report a murder or a break-in or an assault, then you're going to have to wait in line. And I think that is one of the fear and scare tactics. I want to be really clear when we talk about defunding the police. If you were to go and buy a house and your home inspector came in and said, you know, you got a crack in the foundation, but the windows are great and you got a nice coat of paint on the outside of the house, you're not going to buy that house, because at the end of the day, you still have a crack in that foundation, which means that house is going to crumble on top of you. The system of policing that we have in this country was founded on principles of white supremacy, of anti-Blackness, and of systemic racism. Period, point blank. Historically, there is not an argument about how slave patrols were the birth of police forces in the South, and about how those slave patrols and that system of policing found its way up to the North during the Great Migration, which historians are arguing that it placed anywhere between 1910 and 1970. And so when that is the basis of policing, what we're talking about is the system that directs our police officers at its foundation is inherently racist and inherently anti-Black. And so we're not saying we don't want anybody to feel safe, but there's a big difference between safety and policing. And those are two completely different conversations. And if you ask anybody what they need to feel safe, they're going to talk about a few things. They're going to talk about having a roof over their heads. They're talking about having food on their table and be able to provide clean water to their family. Those are going to be all the things that talk about safety.
Well, some of the talk is about these police officers or the police in general aren't really, they're doing jobs they may not be suited to do, mental health issues, basic poverty issues, and all these other things, domestic violence that can be dealt with in other ways. And I think that's outlined in one of the demands, but why isn't that happening already if that's a better idea?
Policing in this country is not necessarily built to reduce crime so much as it's built to maintain a certain social order and status quo, right? People talk about broken windows policing all the time. And what we have is we have a system that goes after and criminalizes certain individuals more than it does others. So I don't necessarily buy into the premise that if this was a good idea, it would have happened already. I think the current system of policing benefits some people. It benefits those people very well. And those are the individuals that want to see this system held in place.
What kind of responses are you getting from a lot of different people from these sort of demands that I think folks like Black Lives Matter are making?
A lot of what we're seeing right now is a lot of Black and brown people that are reaching out to us and saying, finally, this is getting attention. This has been happening to me over and over again. Is also balanced by, and it came as a surprise to me, the number of white people that are reaching out and asking for clarification. Daily, we get emails from white people saying, well, but hang on a second, what does this mean? Or why should I support BLM? Or are you a Marxist organization? Or isn't BLM terror? And it's everything from threats. And whenever somebody says all lives matter, what I say to them is, listen, all houses on the street are important. But if one house is on fire, you're going to put your attention on that house. You're going to focus your attention on making sure that house doesn't burn down. And our house is on fire, and our house has been on fire.